Hello there, it's Jake Williams with my third weekly dev log. I did record another one, but OBS shut down and I lost the video. So here we go again. So to start off, from let's recap from last week. So last week I um, started to finish the alpha build of my game, and I had two function levels with mixed dialogue and some combat mechanics in there. Um, so as you can see here, I've got the Gantt chart up. So I finished all the planning stages, production, etc. And we'll see the alpha build here. I had finished the mechanics, and also I started to test the alpha version. So obviously that involved me going through the levels I had, seeing if they worked, etc. And also finishing the third and fourth level of my game. So that's where we finished last week, and I had. So if we keep an eye on the total time here, it's currently at 65:30. Also, that's all of the work there. But I have made a few changes in my current version of the Gantt chart, so it's now down to 55 hours. So what I did was I scaled down the playtest because obviously that would be taking place whilst I was in college. So I would be playtesting other students' work and also other classes of students playtesting mine, and that would only take a stretch of an hour. So I reduced that down. If you can carry here, see, last week it was at 3 hours. Um, I thought it's not really needed to be 3 hours because I can spend that time reflecting upon the feedback that I've got and also implementing the changes um, as necessary, really. So, so that's what I did there, and also I scaled down the rest of these tasks here all down to 2 hours because obviously analyzing feedback. Essentially, let's scale it down to 1 hour. I think it's going to take long because I was just collating me looking at the okay, if look at my survey, it will just come up on here how many responses I've got, and it will come up with different charts. I can link it to the sheets directly anyway, so that'll scale back the time from me manually collating it. So obviously that hour would just involve me looking through the feedback, writing up about the feedback that I've received, what feedback I'll be taking on board, and also how I would go about making the changes that I deem to be necessary. So if we go back here, obviously polishing, resolving bugs, they all down to about 2 hours ish each. It wouldn't take too long, depending on how major the feedback is that I receive. Obviously, that is currently on a sort of, it can be scaled up if need be and scaled down depending on what I need to resolve within the game to get it to the player standards that the playtesters have identified. So obviously moving into the very last week, I've got identifying bugs, squishing the bugs again. Well, as I said, that all depends on whether any other problems occur during the launch and pre-launch phases up here, and obviously testing. But yeah, most importantly, that last week is conducting a post-mortem and making sure that my outcome is on my Wix website with the different versions, and sort of summarizing the development from alpha, beta to alpha to final, sort of how I have evolved the idea, and obviously link that back to research, experimentation, etc. Um, yeah, so if we move into this week, I finished testing the alpha version. So what I did was I finished third and fourth level. I tested them; they all work fine. I then completed the game and then started again to see if the variables will reset, and they did. So that means that I can have multiple people playing it without having to shut down the game. We open up the game again, so it works as a normal game would or expect to work. So if you was to return to the main menu, all the variables will reset for the next player to continue. And obviously, if you didn't go back to the main menu, it will take you back to the start of the game, which is the world map. Here. So obviously, when the player hits start on here, it would take them to the world map over here, just there. As you can see, he's there. There's Barry. He's there. So that is where it would take you. Then once you finish that final level, it would ask you if you'd like to return to main menu. But obviously, if you don't want to, you can go back and then it will respawn you back here, so you can do it again. And obviously, the variables will reset between there, so it just functions like a normal game, really. So, also this week, I've started to design my Pixar assets, record audio, and also, well, not so much implement audio, but I started to implement my artwork, which I'll show to you a bit later in video form and also in the game. So this record audio will be ongoing from the end of this week. Well, week's over anyway, it's Saturday. From the Friday and the Thursday of this week into the later of next week. Most audio proper recorders on my days off, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so obviously tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and also implement the audio on Wednesday and Friday, and I have Thursday off from college because GCSE season, so I can record audio and design art as of then. So I've got all day on Thursday by myself, just recording audio, implementing the audio, and also finishing the artwork, and also from the playtest to resolve bugs, test bugs, polish the game really, and also start to move into that post-mortem phase of conducting, like writing up what I've done throughout the whole process of this game development and how I've progressed, how I've linked back to feedback, research, experimentation, etc. to build this final outcome. So if we take a look at last week's build, I finished with the second level not being fully completed yet, but is this there? It works, functions, etc. So this isn't last week's build, wasn't it? Let me find last week's build. It's version 10. Version 10. Yeah, because this week I finished version 11, which is my last beta build. Moved into beta alpha build, sorry. Then moved into beta version 1 and beta version 2. Obviously, beta version 2 is what I've opened here, which we'll show you afterwards to compare with last week's build. But this isn't last week's build, so let's open version 10. It's down the bottom here. Here it is, version 10, May 8th. Close project. Don't save. Here we go. So this was last week's build. I had started to plan out the level, but there's no functionality there at all. It was literally just a blank box, and also the fourth level there, which has evolved quite a bit since then. And also the third level was roughly finished. We are missing a room here, but the functionality is there, but it wouldn't progress you back to the world, back to here. So yeah, so it has progressed a bit from this build here. So if we go back over to here, here we go. First thing that I'd like to mention is nothing has changed really in terms of UI yet, but I will be adding, sort of as I finish the map, screenshot of the top-down map on there with a little bit of animation on there, so light, etc. And also have that sort of shaded behind, so this sort of stands out against the screen to make it look sort of 3D-ish, and that'll carry over to each of the different pages. But on here I have an end game, whereas in last week's build I did not. So once the player's finished final layout, well, final level. There'll be a cooldown where there'll be a cutscene, dialogue, and then finally it takes you to the screen here. And also in pause menu, I have updated the pause menu. So here's the pause menu here. Ignore all this stuff here. This is sort of all the items that pop up on screen, so the bar etc. But I've added a return to menu button here, which if we zoom in here, was not present. So this just functions as any normal game would, so sort of quit to main menu basically. So anytime the player wants to, they can quit the game and sort of start again really. This works the same as finishing the game, so it resets all the variables etc. So the game doesn't break and you'd have to keep shutting it down after you play it once and then open up again. But yeah, we'll show you how that works a little bit later. But if we go into this week's here, so I've got the third level, which is a bank, which can be accessed down here, and the final level here, which is sort of like a breakout room, is just there. So if we cover that back up again, and we'll start. Anyway, we'll start looking at this build. Continues the game. Right, so cutscene dialogue still works. One thing that has changed from last week is now that I use functions a lot, which I did state last week and the week before that, that I learned from, I think it was when I was implementing sort of when the level finished. I'm pretty sure it wasn't functioning correctly, and the player was able to keep colliding with the door, so they wouldn't actually exit the level. And I found the workaround using functions, and these functions I have applied again to the dialogue here. So we'll see as the dialogue is finished, I can now move again into the shop area. This hasn't changed much, except I have now got the free from the cutout note that was present over here. So that opens up a note that says the code is 5, and then there's a space where it's been cut out, and then a 7. So go over here. Nothing else has changed in the other bit. So if we just go ahead. Oh yeah, right, okay. So that still functions correctly. Animations work fine still. Weapons. Now weapons do have effects now. So here we go to gun. And these have shadows as well now. So you'll see any light emitting diode really has shadow effects on them. Okay, it says nice animation there when you pull out the gun. So if we wait to cool down again, there we go. And also the bat and knife. There we go. That's also developed from last week when I just had the wheel there doing nothing. There was no sort of function to it. So if we pick on that, help health pack when we need it. Click on that, there we go. See the animations play more smoother than they did last week. So as I release the key, they immediately stop, etc. So this is the bit where I applied the functions before, from last week and the week before that. So the character stops again, and the dialogue appears down here. Then you transport to the next bit level. So here is my first sort of artwork implementation. Now this isn't the final bit of artwork, this is still ongoing, and also you would see the progress from all of the artwork in the world sort of in the next development log, which will be in video form and written up on my website, where this one can be found as well, and the past 2 weeks. But yeah, so I've only done one building a minute. That took me roughly an hour-ish just to get the proportions correct, because all of the sprites here, they will have different widths and different heights. So you've got to sort of plan the building, the sprite sheet according to the width and height of the sprite on screen. So I haven't got sides of the building, but I've got the front and also the back, which is up there, which you can't really see. So I just did a reflection of that one onto that one without the doors on it. So if we move down into the sewer, this was the level that I finished last week, I think. Yeah, all the functionality wasn't there though. So if we start here, get the gun out again, yeah, cool. So it's got the enemy AI still, didn't work. There we go. So if we keep moving forward, sorry about the glitching, that's a really low spec PC, it's not very, doesn't really function well with this. So here we go, so we've got panning effect here, which I think is really, really cool. It sort of just gives that player feedback that that specific door was open, which I think is quite cool. So if we keep moving forward, this is basically the same as last week's. We've got the cracks in the floor. Shoot them. And again, pick up the health back down here. So there's another button here that pans across, and then there we go. So we've got the countdown there, time remaining. That just gives a little bit of pressure to the player to get moving, really. There is a zombie enemy in this next room, but he only sort of functions when this countdown is very low. So as you can see, he's not really doing anything at the minute. That's because the countdown is, I've still got time left. It's not until that gets to 0 that he then wakes up. So we're going up the ladders here, which artwork's not there yet, but that'll be coming. So back up in the open world, and we have 2 more challenges left. So we have to go up here. So this is a new bit of the game that I did not finish last week. So as you can see, it's Barry here. This is going to be flipped over cars, debris, sort of flames, particle effects, etc. That's coming in this beta build a little bit later. So here I've added a new type of lock, which is a sequence lock. So if we go down the stairs here, we've got the zombie enemies again. So shoot from there. Oh, what's happening? I pressed the wrong key there. There we go. So we get rid of him, get our health back up again because we're going to need it. So as you can see here, these boxes are flashing. So yellow, green, red and purple. So if we go back up here, open up the sequence lock. It was red, yellow, green, purple, and there we go. Sequence unlocked. Pick up the crowbar, go back down the stairs, down to the vault door. So here we interact with it, placing it on the crowbar, just like the keys and lockpick earlier. So that works in the same way, functions, etc. Okay, pick up the key card. That goes into inventory as well. Get rid of him. So there's the key card there. So go back up here. To unlock bank door, use the key card in the vault. So this is one here. So that opens up. Another zombie enemy in here. So if we get rid of him. And this is another one. So this is button unlock door. So let's have a look. Red. Oh, so black. Incorrect power source. So door didn't open. I've got that nice pan effect again. Correct power source, door opened. So the character stops moving again, so I'm pressing the keyboard. It's not working. That's using them functions that I had a look at last week. So now the dialogue is finished, I can now move again. So this is the very last puzzle of the game. So here, yeah, very clever. And look at the flooring that I've here. So it's 634, or I should be at 6364, 346. Sorry, 346, 346. So if we pick up the key, this is going to be more hidden as we get to debate builds, because I'm going to add sort of objects, sort of blockades, if you will, to this room to make it a bit more tricky, and the keys can be hidden under like a sort of box or something. Really, don't tell me that in a minute, but that's all to come. So if we use the key, there you go. Room unlocks. Open up. Here we go. Keypad. So the function is the same as the one in the shop earlier on, but it's just added it to this other level here. So if we said 364, there we go. So that matches up with that 364, 364, 364, 364, and that sort of implementation of the sort of code into sort of gameplay elements, I think it's really cool, because obviously it could be a number of variation of codes. That could be 643, 3634, 66334. It could be anything. So it keeps the player guessing as to what the actual code is. As again, I've added the crack. So this level sort of incorporates the functionality from all the other levels into one. So these function the same as the other level. You crack, floor gives way, then you sort of shrink and appear back over here again. So if we go back up here, by zombie, in here, by zombie, pick up the health pack because we're going to need it. That. So there's another button there. Pan effect didn't work that time because I've clicked on it again. It does work. So here we go. This is the final boss battle, if you will. This is Loki, the character who's been following you for quite some time now. He's the reason you're locked in here in the first place. So if you read the sort of backstory that I have given to the player, then they will know. So here we go. How did you defeat me? Voyage. No. Then it's the cutscene I was talking about earlier. It goes to the final sort of element. There we go. Thank you for playing. Okay. And that's how the game functions. So that is progress of this week. So if we shut that down, see, there we go. Look, see, it goes back to the main menu directly, just to sort of reduce that sort of, you're not stuck on the end screen for too long. So if you're sort of, as a cooldown function, so if you're on this and you don't click that for sort of a little while, so say about 10 seconds ish, it'll go back to the main menu anyway, so the next player can play and they get to experience the game not from the end but from the start. So I've done quite a lot this week. Definitely been a busy week in terms of gameplay and also coding. Quite a lot, really. I didn't really counter a lot of problems because obviously I have learned from previous knowledge sort of carrying out these sort of gameplay elements. So obviously I'd finished level 1 and level 2, so I had quite an understanding of how to implement different kinds of puzzles, sort of interactive mechanic elements into the game, and also from last week's reflections on websites and also on my weekly reflections, I talked about targets, etc. Still been setting targets. They are on my week's website and they are being continually updated, and also they come in hand with the sort of progress I make in Gantt chart here. So if we look back to the playtest session, which I talked about, I've created a survey they created this on Thursday of this week. Uh, so if we have a look, so this basically what I'm giving the playtesters on Wednesday as they're playing through it. So basic questions: what did you enjoy, dislike, story clear, gameplay clear, present, goal of the game clear. Was the controls? Did the controls work? Firstly, were they responsive? Um, did you feel the game was balanced? So in terms of sort of combat difficulty, sort of puzzle difficulty. What did you like about pixel art? Now, obviously, at the minute I've only got sort of a few basic pixel art elements. So obviously, most of the level sort of backdrops, etc., are finished. But obviously, we've still got quite a ways to go with in terms of the actual world maps. Obviously, these are all placeholders a minute, apart from the main character, zombies, etc. Obviously, roads, the blockades. Obviously, the water is going to stay that way, but also need to add sort of reduce the sharp edges of the sort of world, so I could have them underneath sort of an extra sprite on top, so we can have this level duplicate on top, then sort of mesh that in between the two, give a nice effect. But that will be next week. So that'll be next week's weekly devlog, and that will just be me sort of going through all of the assets in the game, updating them, adding in the audio, etc. So there's no audio at the minute. I'm in the process of recording at the minute. They currently aren't on my videos here, but hey ho, it works. So go here. So obviously this is how I implemented the weapons. So here we go, adding different animations. So what I did was I took the item from the UI system, from here. So I took these pixel art designs here and just added them to the animation of Barry. So I've got attack first, attack back. If we skip before them, is testing them out. So here I encounter the problem. So we add bullet to the sprite, which is the bullet, obviously. So I coded that in, that would spawn. Here we go, when I was testing it out, it bounced off of different sprites, so the bullet would come back again, and it just really did not work at all. So obviously I learned from that, and what I did was I used this function here for each bullet. Set distance, set angle, set angle of motion, that's it, to the character, so Barry.x, Barry.y, and then sort of as the player is facing that way, the bullet would go that way. You get the sort of gist of how that works, but that didn't really work out either, because as the player moved direction, the bullet would then travel in that direction. So I had to find another workaround for that one. So there we go. Look, so as the player moved, then it didn't move. So that was because I added it to the previous animation that I had when X is pressed and weapon equals 3. Now the third weapon is the gun, so I added that into there. So it only updates the location of it once, doesn't update the angle of motion every single time the player moves. And also that just adds that sort of what do you say, sort of balance to the combat, because you don't want to be walking around and be loads of bullets sort of just following you, because also if they hit you, they can take damage. Really, you don't really want that. The player. So if we move on to something a little bit more interesting than that, I've see if we can see here. This is second attempt at the shop. So I've got haven't implemented my shading experimentation yet, which I'll show probably next week, so I've probably finished it by then. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I would be experimenting with and researching into further extended research into pixel art, and so that would involve me looking at some of the primary research that I gathered back in the process research. Process research report, not contextual. Sorry, contextual research report. So that was where we looked at. Well, I looked at different methods like the water effects and the lighting effects and inventory. And I'll be using the research gathered then to gather more research into and experiment with different shading methods. And there's the first attempt of the shop, so the basic bland. This one sort of adds life to it because also you've got the vines to simulate that we are in a post-apocalyptic world. Because if you used to look at the map now, it doesn't really look that post-apocalyptic at all. It's sort of just a normal city, really, apart from obviously blockades. Yeah, it doesn't really strike, doesn't really give off the theme or genre of post-apocalyptic, really. And that's why I wanted to create these further pixel art assets, just to enhance the theming, really. So if we go back to the videos, I have got a video of me going through that, but it's like an hour long. So level 3 sequence. So these are all just going through how I coded in the different levels and sort of how I reused the code from previous levels to sort of implement the changes into this level. So yeah, that was basically all of that week. So it's basic level 3 finished, level 2 was finished there, so timer finished that week, and also level 4 finish. And obviously starting to implement art work. But I mean, apart from that, was mostly it in terms of development this week, and to give you a day-to-day sort of breakdown of how I went through it. So on the Monday and Tuesday, that was when I was testing out this current build here, sort of finding any bugs, etc. Sort of fixing the bugs. So obviously I fixed the functions, so one click, etc. Nothing to do in the main menu. Level, so I have got a level 3 and 4 here, but they don't work yet. So this was last week's build. I had started to implement the startups for the next levels this week that I would implement, which obviously I've finished now. I started to sort of look through the code, see what worked, what didn't, test it out in the game, and that's where I came up with when it was entering the dialogue. That's where I found you can completely disable the player's walking effect. I'm sure I'll put it in here. Yeah, here we go. Look, so set 8-bit direction to disabled, and that applies to dialogue. Sort of when we're transitioning between scenes, etc. I think it's mostly here though. Yes, here we go. So on collision with that button in the last level when we go meet Loki, we set the player to disabled, so they can't move. And then plays through animation, scroll to, then it waits, and then back enabled again. And that just works better than what I had before, where it would just stop and then it would seem as if it was working, but you could just keep moving again. I really didn't find how that worked, because here we go. Yeah, because I used the start ignoring function here, and that only works a couple of times. It's not very reliable, so I've only kept it on a few of the items where it's not that important if you keep moving, really, because also if you can collision with the black button's going to get destroyed anyway. So if you can't collide with it twice, it doesn't really change the sort of gameplay elements, really, because if it's going to be destroyed because it's meant to, there's no point adding disabled walking function because it's not going to work, really. So that's bulk of what I did on that Monday and Tuesday, which is going through the code, looking at it, changing it, sort of looking at what is going wrong in the game and sort of improving that. And then moving into the Wednesday, that's when I started to uh, finished second level here. So with that extra room down there, so after the dark bit, the second level down here with the zombie that only activates when the timer is less than 0, so obviously when time's up, and also the sort of transition to back to the map to down here, obviously triggering the dialogue there, and also added the basic layouts for the game here for the level 2 and 3, level 3 and 4, sorry. So obviously on that day I finished, pretty sure I finished the first sequence lock and also the vault door on that Wednesday, and started to look at adding the final level in with the functionality. So once that finishes, you appear back here instead of over here. As you collide with that building, you'd be transferred to the final level here. So that was bulk of the Wednesday. Thursday was a short day, so that's when I completed my survey. Well, not completed it, like made the survey. Hasn't been handed out yet. This is what I said about the context. So, strange horror themed, Barry is separated from his family by jokes that Loki. Loki forces Barry to complete a series of challenges and puzzles for Loki's sheer pleasure. In return, Barry must progress to reach his final goal of escaping Loki's grasp, to flee to the safety of his family in a neighbouring nuclear bunker. So that will be added to the game as well on the main menu, probably in the options menu, because, well, maybe. Still in a bit of a debate here. I could add it to the game here, sort of as a scrolling text to give a bit backstory before the game starts, using that disabled walk function. So as you can see, dialogue only starts when you collide over here. So as the characters here, if we just do that text there, I think it should work. But that'll probably come next week, just before the playtest session, so Monday, Tuesday-ish. And so that was bulk of Thursday, was just finishing sort of flaws and that sort of basic things that didn't take too much time. And then moving into Friday, that's when I fully finished all of these levels here, ending the endings, sort of end game, return to menu, etc. Making sure that the game functioned ready as it is ahead of the playtest before I add any artwork to it. And that's when I started to, the last half of the session, to look at pixel art, etc. And so I'm pretty sure that is most of what I did that week. So yeah, we'll see you next week, which will be my final weekly devlog, which will probably be written up on my website first. Then I'll record in audio video form, and it'll be uploaded onto YouTube and my Wix website with the videos of my developments here, which will be found on the website to browse as you like, and also different versions of my game will be up there as well as the feedback, written feedback, which will be done next week as well, and also finishing the game as it is, really. So